This is Janice.
That's Jess. That's
this
little,
you. Oh,
yeah, little
my
fat
goodness.
kid. This was in Manzanar. And it looks like what? Do you think maybe it was 12 months old?
Yes.
And then this is Janice and Mom with the bear behind.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at our pictures, every group of folks that are being evacuated were all dressed up. Can you imagine being ordered to come into camp and
Wearing their best clothes.
Yes, wearing their best clothes and being
coming early.
Yes,
Right,
and being
showing
on
the birth
time.
of the
And being on
evacuated.
time. It is absolutely asinine when I look back at it. And if it were to happen today, oh my, I would raise such hell.
The worst memory was that we were prisoners.
There's nothing you can do about it. Then you just accept it. That's one of the things that got us through those hard times. Shikata ga nai. Nothing can be done. What can we do?
The Japanese people appreciate nature. So eventually the people got together and put in lawns and gardens. Anything to kind of beautify and forget about the hardship a little bit.
And they also had a dance band. They were called the Jive Bombers.
There was a very popular song at the time, Don't Fence Me In. And then I thought, gee, it sure is fitting that we're in a place like this within the barbed wire.
You get people confined in a small space like that, and you have no one to fight. You can't fight these military people with guns, so you attack each other, blame each other.
So all of these tensions began to boil.
Some of it had to do with the protest, but like any activity where you have a demonstration, other factors enter in.
A group of people, they ended up in front of the camp entrance. The MPs became worried that they were going to be rushed. And so a couple of them shot their rifles into the crowd. 2 young men were shot and killed. There was a loyalty oath questionnaire.
They had a meeting in the fire break at night, the first day. And before that, they had gone to this guy's house and they beat this guy up. He was, I think he was the president of the JACL. And the feeling about the JACL was very bad because they said they were associated with the FBI, and the Japanese would call those people Inus.
Dog.
Yeah. And they had the meeting in the fire break, and the fire breaks, they're huge and there's no lights, nothing. And so they said, okay, name all the people you think are Inus. And so people would start saying, this guy and that guy, he lives over here and here and there. And they're going to divide up and go to all these people they named and beat them up. And so the next thing they did was they said, okay, we'll go down to the jail, which was at the entrance to Manzanar, and take out the guy that was accused of beating up the JACL guy. I don't know whether he was the one or not, but the crowd all went down there. They were mulling around the police station. But I remember they had the military about a foot apart all the way around the jail with Thompson submachine guns. And being kids, we went down there to see what was going on, and they were singing Japanese military songs and it's, ranting and raving and stuff. And they did this for a while, and we said, this is boring, let's get out of here and good thing we did, because we went back to our barracks, and what happened was some of the demonstrators threw rocks at the GIs. Well, they in turn, to protect themselves, I don't know if it was an instinct or not, they start throwing tear gas first. And then came more rocks. And so as the people were running away from the tear gas, they opened fire on them. And that's when I worked at the hospital. So I know these people got shot. And there was about 15 people got shot. And one kid got killed. He was only 16. He was down there like me, watching, just curious. And he was killed. And these people that were in the hospital, they were all laying on their stomach, I go, why are they laying on their stomach? Because I was bringing in the food. And they were all shot in the back. So they could lay on their back. I remember that.
It's justice. In February of 43, they came out with the order that said you could go out of the camp, but you can't go back to the 3 Pacific Coast states.
You had to have a job, you had to have a place to stay, and you had to guarantee that you wouldn't be a liability to the community you were going to.
When I got ready to leave camp, and I'm 6, 7 years old, I was told to be fingerprinted. And I remember the soldier saying, "This is in case you do anything bad. We'll be able to catch you." That was a traumatic experience for me.
They gave me a small green card that gave me permission to leave Manzanar and then went to Madison, Wisconsin.
Young kids would drive by and say, "Go home, Japs." And I'm thinking, oh boy, would I ever love to go home. But you couldn't. California was still closed at the time.
The war's over, the camps are going to close, so the government said, you got to get out, we're closing the camps. They gave each of us $25 and a ticket to wherever you're going to go. That was it. My folks, they worked all their lives, and in one swoop, everything they worked for was gone, and they were penniless.
I was able to go to different baking school under the GI Bill. I was able to start a bakery after the war.
It did create a lifelong friendships, but it was wrong. It was terribly wrong.
By the end of the war, there were no convictions or arrests of any person of Japanese ancestry accused of conspiracy or sabotage or espionage.
We were bona fide American citizens, and as citizens, we had the right to due process. Still, it took a long time. Yeah, it took an awfully long time.
The legislation that I am about to sign provides for a restitution payment to each of the 60,000 survivors. Yet we must recognize that the internment of Japanese Americans was just that, a mistake. Here we admit a wrong.
Up to that point, I always felt like a second-class citizen. So when I got the apology, as if something was lifted off my head.
The thing that I lost are the freedom. But for these first generation Japanese, like my father and others, they lost so much. No amount of money would ever compensate for what they went through.